Neltharion's Lair is a returning dungeon from Legion that will be taking on for Mythic Plus in Season 2. This dungeon starts with a 33-minute timer, so as long as you complete the dungeon within that window, you will upgrade your key. At the start of the instance, you'll encounter 6 pretty trivial mob types in this area, so you may want to get as much count as possible here. Nasher Basilisks occupy the water and will strike tanks with Bone Chomp, dealing physical damage and applying a dot for 8 seconds. Players should also interrupt their Stone Gaze ability, otherwise they will be stunned for 6 seconds. Ember Shard Scorpions deal minor tank damage with their Impaling Shard, again dealing upfront physical damage and applying a dot. Vile Shard Crawlers create pools of acid splatter when they die. Try to kill them all at once to minimize the size of these pools. You'll also find Tar Spitter Lurkers here, which have a few more impactful mechanics. They periodically submerge and reappear behind a random target. As soon as they reappear, they will cast Viscid Bile, which players should immediately move away from to avoid taking damage. Again, once the Lurkers die, they'll drop a pool on the ground, so make sure your tank is pulling the remaining mobs outside of these zones. After these 2 Lurkers, you can cut left before the big pool of the Vile Shard Chunk and Hulk. The Chunk will cast Crush, which deals heavy damage to players within 10 yards of them, and the Hulk is a lot scarier. They cast a 45-yard frontal cone attack called Piercing Shards that deals heavy upfront damage and also applies a heavy dot, so your tanks will want to keep them faced away and sidestep the frontal. They will also fracture your tanks, dealing moderate damage and also knocking the tank back, so you want to be aware of their positioning after this ability. But generally, you'll cut through the water on the left and deal with another Basilisk and some Understone Drudgers. These guys will only deal melee damage, so there's not too much to worry about here. The first boss of Neltharion's Lair, Rokmora. Your tank will want to face the boss away from the group for the Razor Shards ability, and you can sidestep it once the cast begins. After Rokmora casts Shatter, you will take heavy damage and everyone will want to stand still while the crystalline ground is active. Whenever you see this purple effect on the ground during the fight, that's your cue to stand still. After the crystalline ground disappears, you'll want to group up again near the boss to help kill off the adds that form during the fight. You'll want to finish off these adds before the Shatter cast, otherwise they'll explode for extra damage and you don't need that. Just make sure to also stay out of the choking dust they spawn when they die. After you take down Rokmora, jump into the barrels and sail down the river. After the ride, most groups will hug the right wall as much as they can to skip as much trash as possible here. Understone Drummers will rush to their war drums, summoning additional Drogbar every 6 seconds, so you'll want to CC this cast with a stun. You can also kill the drums here or just kill the drummer. Mightstone Breakers will cast Avalanche, combining a frontal cone attack with heavy party AoE damage, but this can be sidestepped. Stoneclaw Hunters will deal moderate damage to nearby players with their Stone Shatter, and they'll also have the Nashers we fought earlier as pets. Nashers will cast Stone Gaze more frequently here, which should be interrupted to avoid the stun. You will however want to kill the Hunter first, as he will just resummon the Nasher if it dies first. Rockbound Pelters will frequently cast Retreat to jump away and attack random distant targets with Jagged Disc. This used to absolutely truck back in Legion, and we had to do some kiting tech to deal with it on higher fortified keys, but that's since been fixed, so good luck, have fun. Also take care not to body pull more trash when chasing down their retreats. As you approach Ularogg's platform, you'll encounter more Hulks that we saw earlier, but there is also a new type of Drogbar called Blight Shard Shapers. They will attack random players with Stone Bolt, dealing moderate damage, and also summon a Petrifying Totem near a player. These totems are surrounded by petrifying clouds that will debuff you if you come into contact, dealing increasing nature damage every 1 second and petrifying or stunning you after 10 seconds. Do note that healers can dispel the cloud from you. The Shapers are also accompanied by Burning Geodes who will cast Scorch at distant players, dealing heavy damage to those who don't move out of the effect. Ularogg Cragshaper, the second boss you'll fight in Neltharion's Lair. This encounter has 2 fairly simple phases, it's just a long fight. Tanks will want to mitigate a Sundercast with defensives and drag the boss to the Bellowing Idols so your party can cleave them down. These idols are summoned by his Bellow of the Deep's cast. They will deal heavy damage to the entire party while they're up, so the priority is to get these down ASAP to avoid getting overwhelmed. Strike of the Mountain will summon 4 hands around you that you'll want to strafe diagonally out of before they crush you. Don't try and finish your cast, it won't happen. And the second phase will occur when Ularogg gains full mana and enters the stance of the mountain. Try to follow which idol Ularogg is hiding in and kill it when it becomes active. If you make the wrong choice, you'll just have to keep killing them until you get lucky, but this can definitely be fatal on higher keys as your entire group will be taking big damage. Note that players can use a raid marker to keep marking where they think Ularogg is hiding under to communicate it with the group. After you find him, he'll return to his phase 1 attack, so just rinse and repeat. After we take down Cragshaper, you can hug the left side of the wall to skip more Drogbar that are having a snail race. Dead ahead of this race is a little pool of water where you can find 4 more Nashers for easy count if you need. Turning left into Naraxas trash, you'll find Stoneclaw Grubmasters. They afflict random party members with Leech, dealing moderate physical damage over time. They'll also summon a Taskspitter Grub with their Wormcall ability, which will need to be CC'd and killed ASAP before it finishes its Metamorphosis cast. If this cast finishes, it will transform into a Rokmora Grabber. These Grabbers spawn several large patches of Rancid Pool all around it, which deal high periodic damage to players standing in them. It will also cast Barbed Tongue, pulling random ranged players into these pools. You'll also find more Shapers, Geodes and Lurkers here that we found earlier in the instance. After you've cleared out the arena, you'll fight the third boss, Naraxas. Everyone should avoid the green pools as much as you possibly can. It deals high ticking damage to anybody stood in it. Make sure your tank is still in melee range at all times, otherwise she'll cast Putrid Skies, which will kill your group. All DPS will want to swap and kill the Wormspeaker Devout ads as quickly as they can while CCing them to stop them in their tracks, because if the ads do reach the boss, they'll cast Fanatic Sacrifice and give Naraxas a 50% damage buff for the rest of the encounter, and this can also stack. The worm will target 2 non-tank players with Rancid Maw, which you'll want to place in the middle of the room so that Devouts will walk through the pools that spawn from this and will slow them down and apply a dot to them, which will make them easier to kill. You can also use these pools for when Naraxas reaches 100% mana and casts Spiked Tongue on the tank. She will draw the tank in and devour the tank if they come into contact with her, so use these pools to slow you down. Additional party damage will come from her frequent Toxic Wretch cast, which applies a poison debuff to players, so you'll want to cure these poisons if possible or use a defensive. And finally, the angry crowd up top will hurl rocks randomly throughout the fight, serving as an additional healing constraint on the fight, so healers be prepared for this. After defeating the worm boss, you'll jump down the hole she was fighting from and prepare for the end of the dungeon. You'll find 3 new enemy types down here, with the Ember Husk Dominators being the deadliest. They will frequently cast Crystal Spike, dealing some hefty damage to 3 players each time it is cast, prioritizing ranged players. The Scorpion that the Dominator rides will cast Ember Swipe at the tank, dealing big damage to anyone in front of the Scorpion, and occasionally it will get buffed by the Dominator's Frenzy cast, increasing the damage it deals. Demolishers will also be found here that only deal melee damage, but they will also cast Charskin, which will turn them into colossal Charskins that will then fixate and run down a player with Burning Hatred. If the Charskin reaches you, it will deal heavy melee damage to you, so don't let this happen. Kite, CC, slow and kill the Charskin before it gets to you. Rockbound Trappers will deal heavy damage with Jagged Disc and will periodically cast Bound. A 4-second stun, but this can be kicked, so prioritize that. Finally, we have Dargrul the Underking, the last boss in NELTHARIONS Lair. Tanks will want to face Dargrul away from the group and any active crystal spikes, as he deals heavy tank damage through the combination of Landslide and Molten Crash. Landslide will cause rocks to erupt from the ground, dealing heavy damage and knocking players back, and immediately after this he'll cast Molten Crash on the tank. This ability will deal double damage and knock you even further back if you have no active mitigation up. Tanking with your back to a wall can make this fight a lot easier, as the boss is also affected by Magma Breaker, dealing party-wide damage every time it takes a step. Dargrul will cast Magma Sculptor approximately every minute during the fight, summoning a Molten Charskin ad, similar to the Charskin we fought a minute ago. This will fixate a player, so you'll need to CC and kill this ad ASAP as it gains a stacking buff, increasing its damage and speed by 2% every stack. Every 20 seconds, Dargrul will target a random player and summon a Crystal Spike at their location. These Crystal Spikes have several interactions during the encounter. They can be destroyed by Landslide, so tanks keep them facing away. They will also be destroyed by Charskins if they run through the wall, but it will also increase the Charskins' damage taken by 100%. So if you're struggling to kill off the ads and you have some spikes spare, then feel free to kite on through the wall to ensure they die quickly. But most importantly, the Crystal Spikes will protect you from Dargrul's signature ability, Magma Wave, that he will cast at 100% energy. He will slam 3 times, dealing massive damage, and then deal one final blow that will definitely one-shot you and destroy all remaining spikes and leave a pool of lava under him. Every 5 seconds after, this pool will fire 2 flame gouts at 2 random non-tank players that will persist for the rest of the fight, creating ramping damage as the fight goes on. But that's all you need to know for this encounter, and that wraps up NELTHARIONS Lair in Mythic Plus. If this guide did help you out, then please feel free to drop a like down below and also subscribe to your boy. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.